Thessaly, 1470. In the rugged mountains, a lonely convent bell tolls its final, mournful chime. Inside St. Catherine's, 23 nuns are on their knees, whispering their last prayers. Through the narrow windows, they don't see an army marching. They see a river of fire flowing up the slopes, the terrifying, seemingly endless advance of the Ottoman army. The abbess, Sister Eleni, clutches an ancient crucifix, its wood worn smooth by generations of prayer. Her knuckles are white, her jaw is set. She knows death is coming, but what she couldn't know is that death would have been a mercy. To understand what happened next, we have to rewind the clock. 17 years earlier, in 1453, the world watched in horror as Constantinople, the jewel of Christendom, fell to the armies of Sultan Mehmed II. Mehmed, later known as the Conqueror, was a brilliant and ruthless strategist. He understood something fundamental about power that many conquerors missed. True, lasting conquest isn't achieved by killing people. Killing creates martyrs, and martyrs inspire resistance. True conquest is achieved by erasing an entire people's identity. His first act after conquering Constantinople wasn't a citywide massacre. It was to ride his horse directly to the Hagia Sophia, the largest cathedral in the world for nearly 1,000 years. He ordered it converted into a mosque. This single act was a masterstroke of psychological warfare. It wasn't just about changing a building, it was about transforming faith, rewriting history, and erasing memory. This became the blueprint for Ottoman expansion. Don't make martyrs, make people disappear. Not their bodies, but their culture, their faith, their names. The strategy was erasure, a slow creeping silence that would swallow civilizations whole. Now back to the mountains of Thessaly in 1470. At St. Catherine's, the 23 nuns represent generations of unwavering faith. There is Abbess Eleni, a leader forged in hardship. There is Sister Magdalena, a young novice whose eyes still hold the light of youthful devotion. And there is Sister Theodorus, an elder who has seen the passing of seasons and empires from these same stone walls. They are the living embodiment of a faith that has endured for centuries. Suddenly, a deafening crash shatters the air. The first cannonball has struck not the main gate, but the bell tower. The bell, the very voice of the convent, is silenced. The message is clear. Your God will not speak here anymore. The heavy wooden doors are smashed open, but the soldiers who storm in aren't brandishing swords for a massacre. They carry ledgers, inkpots, and quills. This is not a conquest of swords, but of record-keeping. The Ottoman commander, a man named Hasan Pasha, presents the ultimatum, not with a roar, but with the cold finality of a bureaucrat. Convert to Islam, be recorded in our ledgers with new names and new lives, or disappear. You will be erased from every record, every map. It will be as if you never existed. Sister Eleni looks the Pasha in the eye, her gaze as unyielding as the mountains around them. She speaks for all 23 women. Tell your Sultan, she says, her voice steady, that we have already given our lives to a king. The test of faith had begun. The nuns were locked within their own convent, now a prison. No food, no water? The Ottomans expected their defiance to crumble into desperate pleas. They underestimated the power of belief. For the nuns, fasting was not a punishment. It was a form of prayer, a spiritual discipline they had practiced their entire lives. Instead of breaking, their prayers grew stronger, their hymns quieter but more resolute. Day after day, their shared suffering forged an unbreakable bond. Hasan Pasha, watching this display, felt a grudging admiration. He had broken armies, but he could not break the spirit of these 23 women. It infuriated him. He makes one final offer. He brings them fresh water and bread, a cruel temptation. Just one word. He pleads, almost desperate himself. Accept the true faith, and you will have mercy, protection, and honor. Sister Eleni, gaunt but unbroken, looks at the bread, then at her sisters. She turns back to the Pasha. We will not eat, she says. We will walk. And so they walked. Chained together, the 23 nuns began a forced march south toward the port city of Volos. For 7 grueling days, they stumbled over rocky terrain under the blistering sun. On the 3rd day, Sister Irene, one of the elders, collapsed. Her sisters gathered around her, whispering prayers as her life faded. The guards offered no help. After she passed, the remaining nuns scraped at the hard earth with their bare hands to give her a simple burial. A few days later, Sister Callista, her spirit finally extinguished by exhaustion and grief, simply sat down on the path and refused to rise. The guards shouted, then kicked, but she remained motionless, her eyes vacant. They left her there, a silent statue of defiance on the lonely road. By the time they reached the coast, only 18 women were left. The tears had stopped. Despair had been burned away, replaced by a silent, steely resolve. Hasan Pasha, determined to break their leader, separated Eleni from the group. She was returned to them hours later, her body bruised and broken, but when she looked at her sisters, her eyes held the same unwavering light. Her faith remained untouched. At the port of Volos, the 18 surviving nuns were herded onto a massive Ottoman galley. They were chained below deck, their identities now reduced to numbers on a cargo manifest. 18 units, religious captives. As the ship sailed into the stormy Aegean Sea, the terrified women huddled together. It was the young novice, Sister Magdalena, who began to pray. She whispered psalms, her soft voice cutting through the roar of the waves and the creaking of the ship. Soon, the others joined in, their combined voices a faint but defiant hymn in the suffocating darkness. After weeks at sea, a new sight appeared on the horizon, the skyline of Constantinople. With its hundreds of minarets piercing the sky, it was a city of breathtaking beauty, a symbol of immense power. But for the captives, that skyline was not a promise. It was a blade, a constant reminder of their oppression. They were marched through the bustling alien streets, stared at by crowds, their foreign prayers and tattered habits marking them as curiosities. Their destination was the heart of the empire, the magnificent Topkapi Palace. But they were not led to its opulent halls. They were forced down a dark staircase, into the cold, damp tunnels that snaked beneath the palace like a hidden underworld. Here, in the belly of the beast, they disappeared from the world. For over 500 years, their story was lost. Silence, erasure, just as the Sultan had intended. Then, in 2011, a team of archaeologists working on a restoration project at the Topkapi Palace made a startling discovery. They found a section of wall in the subterranean levels that sounded hollow. Carefully, they broke through. They had uncovered a small sealed chamber, a forgotten pocket of history hidden for centuries. As their lights pierced the darkness, they saw something incredible. The stone walls were covered in crude scratches, faintly etched crosses, inscriptions in Latin, and on the floor, traces of beeswax, the remnants of homemade candles. One archaeologist ran his fingers over 4 words carved near the floor. Lux in tenebris, lucet. The light shines in the darkness. It's a passage from the Gospel of John. And then they saw it, a small, simple carving of a bird, and next to it, 23 vertical tally marks. One by one, they had been crossed out until only a few remained. It was Sister Magdalena's final record, a secret memorial to the 23 Sisters of St. Catherine's. The archaeologists pieced together the story. Down here, in the suffocating blackness, the surviving nuns had created a secret chapel. They had continued their prayers, whispering hymns so the guards wouldn't hear. They likely survived on stolen scraps of bread and water. The carved bird, a symbol of the soul or the Holy Spirit, was Magdalena's signature. The tally marks were her memory, her refusal to let her sisters be forgotten. The carvings stop abruptly. Historical records point to a kozdak, cleansing, of the palace is lower levels around 1482. The last of the nuns were likely removed and finally erased. For centuries, there had been faint, ghost-like legends among palace staff, whispers of women singing in Latin, deep beneath the palace grounds. The 2011 discovery turned legend into fact. The chemical analysis of the wax, the style of the carvings, the specific Latin phrases, it all matched the traditions of 15th century Greek convents. The Ottoman Empire, in all its might, had tried to silence them, to erase their very existence from history, and they almost succeeded. But this story holds a profound truth. Power can conquer land, it can topple cities, and it can rewrite official records. But it cannot conquer what people carry inside them. It cannot extinguish memory, and it cannot kill faith. The mighty Ottoman Empire, which ruled for over 600 years, is gone. It exists now only in history books. But in a dark, forgotten chamber beneath a palace, the faint marks of 23 women who refuse to be erased remain. History, as they say, is often written by the victors, but memory is kept alive by the survivors. Lux, in tenebris lucet. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey into the past. If this story moved you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more hidden histories. We'll see you next time.